I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're opening the pages of the memoir that is raw, heartbreaking, and ultimately triumphant. The name of the book, Born on Valentine's Day, a memoir of love, loss, and survival. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is Barbara Marcus, and she takes us from the streets of Brooklyn to the depths of emotional trauma, revealing how a child born on a day symbolizing love grew up fighting to feel worthy of it. The book is told with honesty, humor, and profound insight, and her story is a testament to resilience, healing, and the unbreakable human spirit. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on the show. This is such a powerful book, and it opens up in a very, very powerful way, and that is a letter to your mother. Tell us a little bit about that letter.
It's interesting because that letter was really written after her death, obviously. And I think her death was the beginning of this book. And I think I say that in the letter. It goes and explains basically the problems that I had growing up as her child, the life that she put me in the middle of. And yet we stayed together. I didn't abandon her. She didn't abandon me. And when she died, I was holding her hand. And that was basically the beginning of this book. It was actually many years ago. It took me 15 years to write this book. So that's basically the letter. Yeah.
Such a difficult blow to have a mother that you don't really get along with, or you don't feel like she loves you as much or as the way you see other kids being loved by their mothers or whatever it is. Have conflict with a mother is very, very difficult. But that love is there regardless, even though it is problematic and troubled. You loved your mother, and I'm sure she loved you. She probably just didn't express it right. How have you come to reconcile your feelings of not being loved as you have gotten older and look back at this young woman who had a baby under circumstances she probably never expected, right?
Right. I understand her. She herself was a woman that I think, basically looking back now, I think she suffered from bipolar disorder. How would I have known that at the time? But I do. I think she suffered from that too, at least to some extent. And she basically couldn't bear to answer any needs but her own. Do I think she loved me? Yes, I think she loved me the best that she could. And I think that she needed me. That's for sure. She needed me. And so she would be very upset if I was sick or anything was she was worried if anything would happen to me. But basically it was her need of me, which is kind of upside down for a kid. But I do understand who she was. She came from a family, a mafia family, and a very strict father. She was the youngest of six children. um Her brothers and sisters seemed to fare way better than she did, but she was who she was, and she loved the best that she could.
Exactly, exactly. I think most parents do the best they can. And as we look back at it later on, we realize they were just kind of kids themselves when they were having kids. And, the mother might have been 20 or 19 or whatever it is.
Hmm.
They don't necessarily do the right things all the time.
Right.
Um, what was it like writing about your childhood trauma? How did it affect you emotionally during the process?
It's interesting. My mentor, a psychiatrist that I worked with early in my career, I got to be very close friends with. He remained a friend of ours until he died a few years ago. And he said to me, I would talk about these stories of my life. And he said to me, Barbara, write it down. But I didn't, I didn't for a while. But he said, write it down. And so when I started to write it down, it it became all the more real. Was it difficult? Yes, but it is easier to write about things that people have done to you than writing the second part of the book, which talks about ways, mistakes I made, missteps I made, people I hurt. That's the harder part, actually, to write. Yeah.
Father's brief appearance in your early life is deeply moving. How did that moment shape you?
Well, he actually turned out not to be my father.
Hmm.
My real father, I never met. I never found out who my real father was till I was 42.
Wow.
Yeah. But when I was three and a half or four, a man came to the house called Lou, and he goes through the book an awful lot. He was my heart.
Hmm.
He believed he was my father as well. And so he, though, gave me a sense that I was worthy. Even we believed we were related, even though we were not. But it was not until I was 35 years old, from three and a half or four, that I realized that he wasn't my father. And I didn't know who my father was yet, even then.
Yeah.
And didn't find out until I was 42.
Yeah.
And then I did.
And how did you find out at 42?
Well, I had my mother in the kitchen of my house, and I
Mm.
said to her, listen, this isn't about you. This is
Yeah.
about me. Who is my father? Did he kill somebody? Did he, is he in prison? Who is that man?
Mm.
And she finally broke down and told me who he was.
Yeah.
And I I tried to find him. So I looked him up. In those days you could get an operator on the phone and call information.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, you know what? He must be 65 now. Maybe he's living in Florida. I don't know
Mm.
why I thought that, but I did. And I got my half brother instead, who has the same name.
Mm.
And we spoke on the phone for a long time. And I knew he was my brother. And he said, listen, this is a crazy story that you are my half sister, but I will give my father your number and he will call you. And he did. And he said, yes, I am your father. And so that's how I found him. And I actually have two half sisters and two half brothers, which I never knew. And I have only met one.
Amazing. And you had the phone call with your father, your biological father, but you never met him.
No,
Yeah.
no. And I think his wife was very mentally ill.
Hmm.
Throughout the lives of his children, she was deeply psychotic. There were a lot of issues there. And when I spoke to my brother, he said if it wasn't for my father, I would have had a terribly different life. So we would speak, my father and I, on the phone for several weeks. And then I could tell he was pulling away. He really didn't want to have this. And I just said, you know what? You don't need me. I don't need you either.
Right. Right. Just kind of the healthy approach, because you had a curiosity, no doubt. I think everybody child does if they don't know who their parent is, and that was that. You've learned to deal with things very emotionally, maturely. Part of that is your profession. You're a psychotherapist. Talk to us about how that informed the way that you told your own life story.
My work, you mean?
Yes.
I I think a couple of things. I think in my business, the more emotion, as long as it doesn't go over the edge, the more emotion you grow up with, the more understanding you have of others. They have a feeling, you can relate to it yourself.
Yeah.
People's pain, people's anguish. Um, and so I think I came to this profession really quite naturally and easily. I love my work. I'm actually at the end of my career now at my age, but I saw 50 patients a week, ran two groups a week, and loved my work. But I think it really was so helpful to me personally. And in the book, I write a love letter to my patients, how much I learned from them as well, enormous amount. And if I have helped them to do better in their lives, I'm proud, very proud. I'm very proud of my work. And so I would not have written this book in the middle of my career because, self-disclosure is not exactly the best thing for patients. So, but now at the end, I felt comfortable to do it.
And
Yeah,
probably being a psychotherapist, of course, gave you perspective on your life, your mother, your upbringing, your family, the impact of trauma, and so forth, right?
of course. Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings everything back more clearly. We tend to, as children, and even not children, even older, we tend to want to think, oh, did I exaggerate this? Was it not as bad as I thought that it was? Writing it down made it very clear what it was.
Mhm.
And every patient I have ever had, just about, has said to me, I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm making more out of this than it actually is. But they weren't. Children long to love their parents.
Yeah. And
They
I
look,
think, yeah, and I think people get into problems when they try to bury it, when they
yes,
try to hide it, when they try to deny it. I think people with trauma, emotional trauma, abuse, need to own up to it. That I was abused, it was a problem, it was terrible, it was difficult. I didn't know how I was going to survive, but I did. I think you have to own it, right?
you have to own it. Part of the problem also is, being a psychotherapist, you're in the nurture business, right? The business of how was your mom? How was your dad? What went on in your life? But you also, and I've learned this over my 40 some odd years in this business, you can't ignore nature. Some kids come into the world stronger than other kids. That's just all there is to it. And so some people that experience trauma can't look at it in the same way. And they need a different kind of treatment. They really do. They absolutely can't. The self-esteem is so fragile that to look back and acknowledge what went on and how they felt and who they are is impossible. So for those patients, the therapy is different. It's different. Um, but nature plays a part. I think I came into the world a pretty tough kid. I do.
Yeah.
Why? Who can know?
Yeah.
But
Or did circumstances make you tough?
well, it's both.
Yeah.
There's also something in your DNA. I mean, it's just there.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
kids are just stronger. They're more able to see things more clearly at a younger age. I think I was able
Right.
to say, whoa, this is not right.
Right.
I remember when I was about 6 years old, I remember my saying to my mother, you shouldn't talk to me like that. I'm little. And so, but, and I was blessed with that ability to see those kinds of things, which is probably why I do what I do for a living.
Right.
But at the end of the day, many kids don't have that. And
Yeah.
and we have to be very careful about that. So not everybody can own up.
That's fascinating. That's very, 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 very interesting. And something I hadn't thought of, that some people are just gentler souls, and that owning up to it would be destructive to them. They
Yes,
probably have to bury it or move on or just forget about it. And other people are the kid who stands up like, no, that's not right. You can hit me all you want, but you're wrong.
right.
Um, yeah. What do you hope readers take away from your book when they turn that last page?
I hope, this is my hope, that they realize that if you believe in yourself, no matter how dark your past, and again, the DNA, there has to be some of that in there. But if if you believe in yourself, and it's not always easy as you're stumbling through these early, experiences. And then not only stumbling through them as a littler kid, but as you get older, you make a lot of mistakes because of the things that you have behind you. But if you believe in yourself and you just keep going, falling down and getting up, that at the end of the day, you can build a life for yourself that's good and healthy and strong. I believe that. And I hope that's what my readers come away with. That's my hope.
It's a great message and a hopeful message, and a difficult message also because a kid who's been told that he's stupid, he's ugly, he's dumb, he's never going to amount to anything, that he's a failure, those kids have trouble believing in themselves because they heard that their whole lives. That's a script that's in their head, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's when they need to see somebody like you.
Yes, that
Yeah,
is. You
yeah,
need someone to help you see that that was someone else's picture of you,
yeah.
not who you really are. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your patients were blessed to have such an empathic person as their therapist, because you do have such great insight and such great wisdom. And I found this conversation, just like your book, to be fascinating. And I think the folks at home will also. The name of the book is Born on Valentine's Day, a memoir of love, loss, and survival. It is written by Barbara Marcus. It is a powerful testament to resilience, honesty, and the enduring need for human love. Barbara, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate your time, your insight, and the courage it takes to talk about your upbringing and to write it down in this book in the hopes of helping others. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.